7 amazing true stories behind classic Filipino brand names. Goldilocks Bake Shop. Goldilocks was the product of 3 Leland sisters and sister-in-law who made a successful bake shop restaurant business out of their passion for pastry making. The Leland sisters, Milagros and Clarita, and sister-in-law Doris opened the bake shop in a small apartment row on Pasong Tamo and called it Goldilocks, a name suggested by Sister Maria Flor, after a fairy tale character. It was easy to recall, appealed to children, and it bore the color of prosperity. What started as a 5-member staff that included 2 helpers has grown into a successful and progressive national enterprise, serving not just home-baked goodies but also restaurant menu items. Mang Tomas all-around salsa. The name behind the Philippines' famous lechon sauce brand, Mang Tomas, belonged to a real person who started a lechon shop in his La Loma neighborhood in the 1950s, Tomas de los Reyes. His early patrons included Sabungeros from the nearby La Loma cockpit, but word of mouth spread the news about his delectable lechon and expanded his clientele to include VIPs, like Prey Ramon Magsaysay. His best-selling lechon was slathered with his famous liver-based salsa ni Mang Tomas, which he himself concocted. The lechon sauce proved to be another hit, and the rights were bought by the owners of the popular Aristocrat restaurant. In 1991, Southeast Asia Food Inc., now NutriAsia, became the new owners of the Mang Tomas lechon sauce brand and was repositioned as an all-around salsa, bottled in the familiar clear bottles and labeled with a familiar character trademark of a man in a salakot. Silver Swan Soy Sauce. The famous Philippine-made soy sauce that once ranked No. 1 among discriminating Filipinos was first conceived and produced in Chinatown by the late Mr. C. Bun Suin. Together with his wife, Mr. Suin operated a small, family-owned soy sauce business that gave rise to the Silver Swan brand in 1942. The brand name, Silver Swan, was derived from the phonetic similarity with the founder's name, C. Bun Suin. Encouraged by his children, Mr. Suin put up the Silver Swan MFG Co., with production and distribution facilities in Malabon and Cebu. So successful was the Silver Swan brand that Mr. Suin was named Food Manufacturer Awardee for 1953. In 2014, NutriAsia bought out the business and consolidated Silver Swan in its extensive line of sauces, seasoning, condiments and kitchen aids. M.Y. San Biscuits. In 1935, a group of enterprising Chinese brothers took over the Escolta ice cream parlor, turned it into a restaurant and started serving baked crackers, biscuits and cookies, along with the regular snack fare. Ma Yu-san led his brothers in running the business until the restaurant gave way to the construction of the Crystal Arcade. The Ma family, however, continued to produce an assortment of wholesome biscuits that would be incorporated into a company called M.Y. San Biscuits, Inc., after the enterprising Ma Yu-san. M.Y. San's early products became instant favorites: Lion Soda crackers, Fitta, Skyflakes, butter cookies, and graham crackers. By the 1980s, it was the most modern biscuit factory in the Philippines. In 2001, Nissan Monde, the food company known for producing Lucky Me noodles, acquired the biscuit pioneer, to become Monde M.Y. San Corporation. Cartimar Market. In 1956, Cartimar Market in Pasay opened to wide acclaim and was hailed as the city's most modern and best laid-out shopping center. Owned by the prominent Opens, it was managed by Ernesto Open at the time of its inauguration. Cartimar was derived from the combination of the first syllable of his parents-in-law, Carlos Cuyugan, and wife, Timotea Lishoco, and only daughter, Margarita, whom Ernesto wed in 1937. Sitting on 2.5 hectares of land bounded by Taft Avenue in front and Laveriza Street at the back, Cartimar boasted of parking spaces along the wide Cartimar Avenue, which spanned 12 meters. It had 8 buildings which housed over 1,000 stalls. Cartimar became a shopping haven in the 60s, frequented by wealthy Makati people for fresh fish and produce. By then, Green Hills and Greenbelt had already established themselves as more superior shopping places. Julie's Bake Shop. The country's largest bake shop chain was founded in Cebu by an intrepid housewife who was not even a baking enthusiast. On January 6, 1981, Mrs. Julia Gandionco, already an operator of 3 canteens, ventured yet into another business, a bake shop. Her eldest son Bobby convinced the modest Julie to name her bake shop after herself, and so, Julie's Bake Shop was on its way. Her bread products, baked in full view of customers, were warmly received and widely patronized. Just half a year after opening her first shop, she opened a second store, which then became 10 in 3 years. Franchising allowed the business to expand nationwide, beginning in 1998, boosting the number of branches to 210 by 1999. Today, Julie's Bake Shop continues to serve and improve classic baked goodies as well as offer new bread varieties. CDO Meat Products. One of the leading Filipino meat processing companies, CDO began in June of 1975 as a small, backyard business of housewife Corazon de Roong. She introduced the idea of serving homemade skinless longanisa to her family. When her friends started placing orders for them, Ong decided to venture into longanisa making in her Valenzuela home, using a PHP 60,000 bank loan. It was the start of an enterprise that would grow into a giant corporation producing tocino, sausages, hams, bacon, tuna, hamburger patties, loaves, and sweet preserve, marketed and sold under the brand CDO, the founder's initials. In 1981, Foodsphere Inc. was registered and the company became CDO Foodsphere Inc. CDO was retained as the flagship name of its food products. The company recovered from a fire that gutted the processing plant and was back on its feet in 1990. The first CDO TV ad broke in 1995, generating attention and sales, and making the CDO name known nationwide. The company introduced innovations with the Spanish-inspired dish called carne norte and San Marino corn tuna, which today are Filipino favorites.